Greetings, everyone. So I just saw a podcast. Shout out to the Sean Ryan Show, but it was with Don Graves. He was a World War II Marine, one of the last surviving flamethrower that was from World War II, and he was born back in 1925. So he's 98 years old now, and one of the only surviving Marines from World War II that was a flamethrower. And he was talking about his time back in the Great Depression. Back then, the Great Depression was during the time that he was born up until he was about 6, when it ended in the 1930s. And he was talking about how cheap gas was. He said gas was 10 cents back then compared to how it is now. And back then he was talking about, obviously Teddy Roosevelt was president back in that time, and he was talking about how much respect everybody had. Even though it was the Great Depression, people didn't have a lot of money and didn't have a lot of valuables, not really a lot of anything back then. And just how different everything was, how appreciative people were even though they had nothing and were going through that times. How school was. He said during school, if the president ever came out, they would stop and they would stand up. When they was in his house and the president would come on TV in the house, they would stop what they're doing and stand up in the house. And I think that's a big problem nowadays, is we lack respect now for everything. We have no respect for anybody. We don't even have respect for ourselves. Half these people walking around here are insecure about themselves, are ashamed of themselves. They know the life that they're living is not fulfilled, and they walk around moping, sad, miserable, depressed. And unfortunately, a lot of those problems can be solved by first having accountability and recognizing that I'm not where I want to be in life. I have a problem with where I'm at right now. I don't like how I feel. Regardless of how you feel, you still have to wake up and do what you have to do every day. But you can take that feeling and put it into action and turn your life into a positive and a life that you want to live. And unfortunately, with all that comes a lack of respect, and people just don't care about nobody. If you don't even care for yourself, how are you expecting people to care about others? And the guy in the interview was saying, do you think we have a chance to go back? Do you think things will go back to how they were back in that time? And he's like, well, I won't be here for it. The guy's 98. The guy's still around, but he's like, it ain't going to be in the next, 6 years. And, sometimes I wish I was born back then, man. I wish I was an old school guy. I really do. I'm young, but the way my morals are, the way I think, I don't really align with a lot of people that are my age in this generation. I just don't align up with their mindset. By all means, I'm still figuring a lot of stuff out on my own. But the way I think things should be run, the way the world is supposed to go around, it's old school. I have an old school mindset. And, maybe it was part of how I was raised. My stepdad was very old school, big into the Civil War and all that. He's almost 70 now, and he taught me, a lot of stuff growing up. Basically just the small things in the house. It all started in the house. You know, as a man, there's stuff that you need to do. You need to go out and work. There's stuff that you need to do at the house, you know, as far as maintenance is concerned. It was just the small stuff that I learned. But nowadays, kids are so depressed because I think nowadays, with this new generation of parents, they don't have a lot of skill sets. They don't have the proper skill sets. Either they weren't taught it, or, you know, they didn't have parents around growing up, but the parents now just lack a lot of skills to really help their kids when they get older. All these kids know how to do now is play video games, you know, watch TV, go and smoke weed. I mean, not that I have anything wrong with weed, but, you know, I don't believe in smoking weed before a certain age because of your brain development. I don't think you should be smoking weed in high school. Your brain's not fully developed yet. And doing drugs, drinking, doing drunk. I mean, I've made those mistakes myself growing up. You know, I drank and stuff like that, and I regret it, man. I wasted a lot of those years living up to my full potential because I wanted to be like the crowd. I wanted to be like everybody else. I thought it was cool to go and drink and hang out and, you know, with friends all the time, you know. And then finally, when I started getting into sports and changing how I thought, it ended up being better for me. I started going down a better road. And I think now, and two, Don Graves, this veteran, World War II veteran, was also saying the problem is with schools now. And I 100% agree with that. The schools now are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're not teaching people life skills. That's what they need to be teaching kids now. They need to be teaching them life skills and what's important and what's valuable and what's relevant. Not all this irrelevant crap and all this modern day next best thing, and, you know, teaching kids that there's more than two genders. I mean, that's new. When did we ever have more than two genders? You know, that's outrageous. And I just think now we need to start having more people advocate for these kids. And this guy was saying that he goes around and talks to kids in schools, and we need a lot of more of that. We need these people that are older, you know, these people that have lived through all these experiences. And they don't even have to be older. I just think people that, you know, have been through a little bit of something, you know, a little bit of hardships, a little bit of regret, to go to these schools and sit down with these kids and tell these kids, you know, you don't want to go down this road. You don't want to go down this road of hopelessness. You want to go down the path of success. You want to go down the path of working hard to your dreams. You want to go down the path of not having distractions. You want to go down the path of having positive influences in your life, positive messages in your life. And like I said before, you need to find the right program. You need to find positive motivations. Anything positive, you need to find out, you know, what it is that you want to do, and have people around you that support you. That's ultimately the best way you're going to succeed, is having the work, the dedication, the accountability of your actions, positive influences. That's what you need in your life. That's going to lift you up. And I just think it needs to start in the schools, because these kids have to do this before they go out and make decisions on their own. They have to go through this school process. And if they're going through school right now and they're feeling hopelessness right now, imagine how they're going to feel when they graduate and get out in the old world. They're already going to have the mindset that, oh shit, life sucks. Nobody's telling me, you know, that I should live my life in a good way. Everybody says it's okay to party, it's okay to drink, it's okay to smoke. It's not. None of that stuff is going to lead you to success. Look at all these positive, influential people in the world, all these rich people and what they have now. Sure, maybe they're drunks now, maybe they party now, but they're making up for all that now. When they were coming up to being where they are at Nat, they weren't doing all that. You think they became successful partying, drinking, smoking, hanging out with the wrong people? Hell no, they didn't. They became that way because they took themselves out of that situation. Anybody that was doing that, they didn't associate themselves with. So think about it that way. If you really want to do what you want to do in life, you can't follow, you have to lead. Leadership is the way to success. You have to be a leader. Being a follower, you're not going to be successful doing that. Because half these people that follow somebody else, it's negative. It's in a negative light. You need to have, and if you do decide to follow somebody, make sure that it's a leader that you're following. You only want to follow a leader that leads. But you yourself need to be a leader. You follow that leader and you be a leader. You be just like him. You inspire to be a leader just like him. But I'll see y'all in the next video.